Way back when I come on the fire service back in '74, we didn't have any equipment as far as the smoke, the diesel, smoke coming from the engines and whatnot. We didn't even have a breathing apparatus on the trucks. We would go into fires and we wouldn't have any breathing tanks. We're firemen, and we'd go on calls and we're expected to give our lives. Well, we may have to give our lives, but unnecessarily, no. Watching one of your own die a slow death like that's never easy. It's something that you won't forget, and you'll make changes in your life over that.
We've fought a lot of fire in my younger years without wearing air packs. You just take a big gulp of air, go in and fight as hard as you could, try to find a window, you know, that old school. And we took a lot of pride in that, you know, that we had that mentality that the more dirt and soot you had on the face, the bigger and badder and rougher and tougher you were.
I can recall getting up the next morning and seeing black marks on the floor from where we had come in from a fire. And I had just walked to my bed and dropped the boots. I mean, we know that there are things that when they burn, they give off poisonous gases and byproducts, and we know that we're exposed to that type of thing. We're not going to stop having fires, and the things that we're exposed to aren't necessarily going to go away.
I don't want them to do what I did. I don't want them to train at 20 years old going into a fire with no air pack on and come out and, you know, just flames going everywhere and your eyes are burning and all. You know, I don't know what that did to my body. So, and everybody is doing all they can to help with assistance with people that are actually being diagnosed with cancer. I mean, cancer is the #1 killer of firefighters right now.
In 2004, I went to an International Association of Firefighters convention in Boston, Massachusetts, and there was little information about firefighter cancer at that time, but there was a flyer that was passed out, and it was a photo of a very well-known firefighter in Boston. I didn't know him, but it said, "Don't be like me." And I thought, that's odd. And that was my first exposure to firefighters that were being diagnosed with cancer. If you can smell smoke, then it's in the air, right? And it's going up your nostrils and it's going into your lungs. Well, what effect is that having on your body? Probably none immediately, but chronically, what effect is that having on your body? We may think that we made it through the career safely, and then years later down the road, we start finding out that, you know, we have certain medical issues that perhaps could be traced back to, you know, chronic exposures to things. The biggest hurdle, I think, in creating successful and meaningful change is really convincing the firefighters that change is needed. Firefighters are just a unique bunch of people that we don't think of our own self first. We don't think of the risk to us. We think about how can we make it better from somebody else. We're short-sighted in that because we're not looking down the road at how this is going to affect us after our years of service are complete and we move into retirement. We think, oh, it's going to be this great retirement. And then the next thing you know, text messages, emails. Oh, did you hear about so-and-so? Have you heard what happened to so? Yeah. And then, you know, the words hospice and things like that start coming into the conversation. And unfortunately, I have to think to myself, how much of this was brought on by the job?
I wanted to be known as a great fireman. Like, for me, the greatest accomplishment would be for someone that I respect to say, hey, you know, I would love for you to ride my truck, or you can ride my truck. I was 35 years old, had a successful career, and I saw a urologist and he scheduled me for an ultrasound. It didn't last long. I remember him walking in and telling me, he's like, we don't know. We're pretty sure this is a solid mass, it is cancer, and we want to do surgery at the end of the week. Told the guys, I said, I'm pretty sure I got cancer. I think I'm done for a while. That was the last time I rode a truck. That was September of 21. It hit the reset button on my entire life, personally and professionally for that matter.
I identified myself with being a fireman, all I ever wanted to be. And when that was taken away from me, it was devastating. My journey started out as a very tiny spot on my back that had a relatively minor surgery to remove the spot on my back. Thought everything was good. They told me I had 5 years, and my mind immediately went to the worst. All I could think about was, what's going to happen to my kids, what's going to happen to my family.
My name is Christy Burgess. I am the wife of Raleigh firefighter Nathan Burgess. Nathan came home and he kept complaining about a really sore throat. He had his appointment with his ENT on May 9th, and when he walked out of that office, Dr. Calloway had told him, "I'm 99.9% sure you have cancer. You need to have an emergent CT this week, and you need to meet me in the OR on Friday morning." It's an interesting place to be when you're watching the person beside you that's trying to sleep, and you know they're dying. It's a hard reality to live in. The weekend that Nathan got really sick and passed away, it was a revolving door of guys coming up to ICU and sitting with us and going back and seeing him. They walked with us every step of the way, from bringing him home from the hospital to getting us through Christmas and making sure that the kids had a good one. I don't want there to be another Nathan. I don't want somebody else to have to go through what he went through. I don't know how you take the good out of someone dying when they didn't have to.
You don't have to do it by yourself. And nobody should have to go through this by themselves. I think if I'd had to face what I faced with cancer in any other line of work besides the fire service, I don't think I'd be sitting here today. I think I would probably not be on this earth. I think now we want our gear as clean as possible. We clean our helmets. We change out our hoods. We decon, beside the fire truck, things like that.
The evolution of fire equipment and the evolution of how we treat firefighters and how firefighters should treat themselves has come a long way. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we have developed policy, and we took some of that policy from what's called the Lavender Ribbon Report, which was a report that was done by the International Association of Fire Chiefs, which talked about cancer prevention and what these firefighters should do. So we are very big on making sure that all county firefighters shower within the hour when they have any exposure to toxins at a fire. Clean themselves up with something as simple as baby wipes, wiping their exposed areas, cleaning their gear, and then putting their gear in an extractor and a washer, providing a second set of gear. We also use the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association's replacement policy, which says gear should not be used no more than 10 years.
You got to start somewhere. We've partnered with Duke and UNC quite a bit on various studies. Again, I don't think anyone has anything figured out completely. We just got to figure out how to limit that exposure, and then how do we get that exposure off of us sooner.
We started several years ago making sure that all our firefighters had annual physicals. We're looking at new ways now. We're looking into this new scan that can be done for firefighters that could do early detection for cancer.
We have peer support groups. We have our own internal peer support group here at the fire department that we've worked on putting together. That support to me is just as important as the physical things that go along with, your scans and your doctor's appointments and things like that. The mental health side of it is just important.
If I was going to put something on the new generation, wear the gear that's been provided for you. Wash the gear when it's supposed to be washed. Do the right things that you're supposed to do so you can get back home safely to your family.
We always make sure we look at people first, which is a change. I want to make sure that this young man or this young woman who is starting out in the fire service can have a successful 25, 35-year career in the fire service and have a productive life away from that fire station as well.